On a quiet night in a small town, a young man named Daniel lay awake, consumed by a dream he had held on to for years. To his friends, he was just another dreamer, someone who spoke of big ambitions, but never took a step toward them. But Daniel had a secret something that haunted him in the dead of night. What if his dreams were never meant to be? What if they were just fantasies he could never achieve? Tonight, something would push him to make a decision. It was a choice that could change his life forever or leave him drowning in regret. This is a story about the thin line between dreaming and doing, and how a single moment of courage can turn a fantasy into reality or leave it as nothing more than a fading wish. Daniel had always been a dreamer. Growing up in a modest neighborhood, he found solace in imagining a life far beyond the confines of his small town. He wanted to be a successful entrepreneur, someone who could build something meaningful from scratch. He could see it also clearly: an innovative tech company, sleek offices in a glass skyscraper, employees who looked up to him, and a life of purpose and financial freedom. But year after year, his dreams stayed just that, dreams. He was trapped in a cycle of imagining great things but never acting on them. His friends and family were supportive but skeptical. "You've got great ideas, Dan, but when are you going to do something about them?" his best friend, Mark, would often ask. Daniel had dozens of notebooks filled with business ideas, sketches, and plans, but they were all tucked away in a drawer. He had the vision, but lacked the confidence. The fear of failure paralyzed him. Every time he thought about taking the first step, doubts crept in. What if it didn't work out? What if he lost everything? He would convince himself that it wasn't the right time, that he needed to plan more, save more, or wait for the perfect opportunity. Then came the turning point. It was a chilly evening in late October. Daniel was walking home after a long day at his job, a dead-end position at a local retail store. The wind was biting, and the streets were unusually quiet. As he rounded a corner, he saw a for-lease sign in the window of an old storefront. It had been vacant for months, a relic of a once thriving business that had fallen victim to the changing times. But tonight, something about that sign called out to him. Daniel stopped in his tracks, staring at the sign. His heart raced. This was it, the opportunity he had been waiting for. The location wasn't perfect, and the building needed work, but it was affordable, and more importantly, it was real. For the first time, the gap between his dreams and reality seemed bridgeable. He stood there for what felt like hours, torn between the urge to act and the familiar comfort of his indecision. As he wrestled with his thoughts, a car pulled up beside him. The window rolled down, and Mark's face appeared. "What are you doing out here?" Mark asked, looking concerned. Daniel took a deep breath. "For my business. You know, the one I've been talking about for years." Daniel hesitated, then pointed to the storefront. "I'm thinking about leasing that place." Mark raised an eyebrow. "For what?" Mark was silent for a moment, then nodded slowly. "You know, Dan, you've talked about starting a business for as long as I've known you. Maybe it's time to stop talking." Something in Mark's words struck a chord. Daniel felt a rush of determination, mixed with fear. He knew Mark was right. It was now or never. He could walk away and continue living in his fantasies, or he could take the plunge and turn his dreams into reality. The next morning, Daniel called the number on the sign. Within a week, he had signed the lease. The place needed a lot of work, repairs, painting, new flooring, but Daniel didn't care. For the first time, he was taking action. He spent every evening after work and every weekend transforming the rundown space into something he could be proud of. The process was exhausting, and there were moments when he doubted himself, but he pushed through. As the weeks went by, Daniel's dream started to take shape. He used his savings to buy equipment, order inventory, and set up a small office in the back. He hired a few employees, local kids who were eager to help and learn. It was a slow start, and there were times when Daniel feared he wouldn't make it. The financial strain was heavy, and the pressure was relentless. But with each challenge, he grew more determined. 6 months later, the grand opening of Daniel's tech startup arrived. The turnout was modest, but the sense of accomplishment was overwhelming. As he stood in the doorway, greeting customers and chatting with his first clients, Daniel realized something profound. His dream was no longer a fantasy. It was real, and it was growing. Success didn't come overnight. There were setbacks, sleepless nights, and moments of doubt. But Daniel persevered. He learned to embrace failure as part of the journey, each mistake a lesson that brought him closer to his goal. Over time, the business grew, gaining a loyal customer base and a reputation for innovation. Years later, Daniel's company became a leading name in the tech industry. The small-town boy who once feared failure had built an empire. He had learned the hard way that dreams without action remain fantasies. But by taking that first step, by daring to act, he had transformed his life. Thank you for joining us on this journey with Tales with Meaning. Daniel's story reminds us that dreams are powerful, but they only become reality when we act on them. We all have visions and aspirations, but without courage and action, they remain fantasies, locked away in our minds. Daniel's success wasn't about luck or perfect timing. It was about taking that first, terrifying step and refusing to give up when things got tough. So, the next time you find yourself dreaming, ask yourself what's holding you back from turning that dream into reality. And remember, dreams without action remain fantasies. We appreciate your time and attention, and we hope this story inspires you to take action on your own dreams. Thank you for listening, and until next time, keep chasing those dreams with purpose and determination.